It's disgusting, it's wrong, and it's evil. It's evil.
Coy Nolan will never forget that day in May of 2004 when a handful of teachers and religious leaders from his Saskatoon private school visited his childhood home. Nolan says they began yelling, grunting, and making other unintelligible sounds known as speaking in tongues. His mother, no longer in control, crying in the corner as they spanked the 16-year-old repeatedly with a large wooden paddle, a violent exorcism meant to cast out what they believed to be his gay demons.
I didn't know what I was going to do. I tried for so long, to pray it away, try not to be what I was, just so that I could stay with my friends and my family and the church and the school, because that's the only thing I really knew.
Nolan's classmate and best friend, Caitlin Erickson, remembers wanting to speak out about her own abuse, but holding back for fear of getting paddled.
I felt very powerless because there was a lot of adults that were involved in this that at no point stopped and said, hey, we've gone too far. So it was a very powerless feeling. It was very traumatic.
The non-denominational Christian Centre Academy opened in 1982, but didn't receive provincial accreditation allowing students to enter university or college until 1994. Like other private schools, parents pay tuition and fundraise. It's also been receiving Saskatchewan government funding since 2012. A year later, in 2013, the school changed its name to Legacy Christian Academy. Erickson was the first out of at least 18 former Christian Centre Academy students to launch a criminal abuse complaint. The file is now in the hands of Crown prosecutors after a year-long investigation by Saskatoon police. Complaints include coercion, solitary confinement, and frequent paddlings, many of which allegedly happened after the Supreme Court banned corporal punishment by teachers in early 2004.
That was not okay, and it's taken a long time for people to speak up, so yeah. I mean, it was a cult. It was essentially a cult.
Current leaders of both the school and the connected church have declined interviews with CBC News. In a written statement, school officials say they're grieved to learn of former students who feel they were subjected to abuse during their time at Christian Centre Academy, and that they support any former student who wants to file a police report so it can be investigated and dealt with properly and legally. Erickson and other former students who came forward say the people who committed these acts must be held accountable, and they want the Saskatchewan government to investigate the school itself, freezing any provincial money and cancelling any tax breaks until all questions are answered.
Funding these types of schools is essentially the government saying, go ahead, continue to do these things.
The Ministry of Education tells CBC News independent schools go through 3 on-site inspections each year, and the most recent one at this academy was back in June. The written statement also says the province has not received any complaints about this school since it started receiving provincial funding a decade ago. Some students say that's not true, and they supplied CBC News with email conversations they've had with the Education Minister's office.
A lot of it is behind the scenes and untalked about, and that's what I'm hoping I can tell with my story.
While most teachers have moved on since Nolan and Erickson went to the school, they say some of the same people are still working there and that there has been no effort to apologize or make amends. Jessie Anton, CBC News, Regina.